You're listening to India Bio Speaks, voices from the life science explorers in India.
In Season 2 of In Conversation with a Mentor, we're talking with people who have come from a non-life science background and who have made a big impact in the community. Let's delve into their inspiring and insightful stories. Today, it's an absolute pleasure to have a special guest who has been a friend of India Bioscience for a long time. You may already know him from his TEDx talks, his books, Keynote Speech, or the popular science magazine I Wonder. So let's not tease this conversation any further and welcome Ramgopal Vallath, popularly known as RamG. Hi RamG, welcome to In Conversation with a Mentor.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
RamG, let's start at the beginning. Your education is a mix of technology and marketing. You did your graduation in engineering from IIT Madras and then a post-graduation in marketing from XLRI Jamshedpur. So tell us a little bit about this journey and what motivated you to pursue marketing after engineering.
So while I was studying in high school, I got very, very fascinated with sciences, basic sciences. I would spend hours actually reading up science books and solving science problems. And it was like I was on the zone, I really enjoyed it. And I assumed that the BTech in IIT would be a continuation of that. However, I did not really get interested in the tech papers that we had. And I sort of lost interest. In fact, I ended up doing my BTech in 5 years instead of 4. And it is not because I loved the subjects. So at the end of it, I realized that maybe I'm not really cut out for a technology job. Luckily, I was also very good at interacting with people. And I thought a management job would actually suit me better. And that's what took me to XLRI, where I majored in marketing, but it was an overall management course. And there was a marketing and finance, which I majored in.
Thank you for telling us how it all started. So your career path has been an unconventional one. It continues drawing upon elements that you brought up while discussing your education. Starting from working at the Titan Industries to becoming a certified success coach. It's a long and curvy path that you have traversed. You have led many reputed companies such as HP India, Dell Technology, Airtel, etc. So what is your philosophy or thought in terms of choosing a career path or a job? And what made you move from one organization to another? Put a little differently, do you think this notion of a job for life is outdated today?
Yeah, so calling it an unconventional path may be completely downplaying it, because it has been a very, very interesting and completely wacky journey, starting with marketing watches to selling computers, selling networking hardware products, heading a telecom operation, heading a large team in IT, and then from there to completely reinventing myself. It was a very, very interesting journey. I think what drove me to each of these was, number one is I liked challenges. I like to learn new things. So I've been constantly learning new things, and wherever new learning took me, I would move there. So it's not as if my philosophy in life is to switch from job to job. And I don't really recommend that for everybody. And it's very, very specific to each individual strengths. There are some people who are very good at doing a specific job and they would love to stick to that. There are some people who naturally like to try out newer things, and then they switch from one job to the other. So after the corporate life, of course, what really drove me to reinvent my life was because I was down with a very crippling autoimmune disorder and I could not get back to a normal career. So I had to reinvent my career, and luckily I had the kind of mindset where I could learn a lot of new things and then put that to practice, which then made me a bestselling author, a motivational speaker, and work at the RamG Foundation, etc. So that's how it took me there. And I enjoyed every minute of every one of these jobs.
That is an amazing ability for reinvention. It has brought so much reward and meaning into your career. Something that I marvel about RamG is how do you manage to wear so many hats? You are a writer, you're the co-founder of a startup in agri-tech, a founding editor of I Wonder, which is a popular science magazine for school teachers, and you have delivered more than 1,000 motivational speeches. And now you are currently heading the COVID health response strategy at the RamG Foundation. And above all, you call yourself the happiest and most positive person that you have ever met. So in a nutshell, how do you manage to simultaneously do so many different things, many of which are unrelated to each other, and still get a sense of contentment, satisfaction, and happiness?
For me, the one decision that I took after I had my illness and I had to go through a very difficult phase of recovery, it was that I would play to my strengths in whichever role I did. What I did was I offered my value addition to multiple roles at the same time. So at the tech startup, I brought in my abilities as a business development person, as somebody who understood management, somebody who understood leadership. So I could be a sounding board for the CEO as a co-founder. I could actually help the CEO navigate some of these issues, which as a tech specialist, he may not have been aware of, or he may not have been exposed to enough. So my role was very specific to adding value to the CEO, adding value to one or two specific aspects of the organization. Similarly, when I brought out I Wonder, and it was sort of my push that got it started, how I managed to put together a very good team who actually took it forward. And there, my ability as a person who could create a form out of complete amorphous situation, I think that is what helped me. So I could actually build something from scratch. So I could have conceptualize what is required, pull the strings together and make it happen. Similarly, as an author and a motivational speaker, I always used to love writing. And I picked that up again. And in fact, I started writing again from the hospital bed in Chicago, where I went through a clinical trial which rebooted my body. But when I started that, I was very clear in terms of very specific areas that I would like to write on. One was wacky science fiction for children. The other one was helping people become the best selves of themselves. So helping people understand their own strengths and become super at what they do and maximize life. From that, actually, it sort of flowed that I could also become a good speaker, and I would help people in the same way to becoming better, more positive, more happy in life, more successful. So each of these were sort of very strongly correlated. The role in RamG Foundation, where I'm currently doing, I think that was very serendipitous because I was the right person at the right time, at the right place. My love for science had taken me into a lot of learning of biosciences. I had not done biology in my high school. So I actually left biology there. But after my illness, I wanted to understand about the immune system, and because it is an autoimmune disorder. So I took a lot of courses on immune system online through Coursera. And then I wanted to learn about evolution, genetics. So I did a lot of study by myself on biology. So I was a fairly unique person in the foundation where I was very good at mathematics. I could understand modeling of the disease. I'm good at science reasonably well. I had good network of people in the science area. I could build relationships very fast. So I was ideal for building a lot of relationships across multiple experts and funneling all that information into the foundation. And I also had the ability to sort of create something from scratch. So all that made me a good choice for leading the strategy of the pandemic health response at the foundation. And the foundation did a phenomenal job in the last 2 years of supporting millions of people across the country and the government system for COVID response. In a nutshell, I enjoyed every single thing that I was doing tremendously. And that's what actually gave me the ability to manage so many different aspects at the same time.
So well put. It is indeed a great skill to know what you want to contribute to a system, such as when you're talking about your role supporting the CEO. Such clarity makes projects feasible and successful. RamG, now that you train leaders, can you shortlist a few qualities one should have to become a good leader, and similarly some qualities that one should stay away from? Also, do you think that one can practice and develop leadership qualities, or is this something that only some people are born with?
Let me answer the second question first. I'm a sort of guru in growth mindset. I actually deliver a lot of talks on growth mindset and help people understand what is growth mindset and inculcate it in themselves. And the basic principle of growth mindset is that ability is something which you can acquire by practice and by applying the right strategies of learning. So most abilities are not inborn. Obviously, you might have some bias towards some particular abilities from your genetics, but finally, anybody can acquire many of the abilities which are required, and leadership ability is absolutely one of them. So anybody can become a great leader. A few things that I learned as a leader. Number one is respect is a very, very important aspect of leadership. If you are able to respect all the people who are working with you and treat them as individuals who are having their own strengths and their own abilities, rather than expecting them to be something of a reflection of yourself, then you would be able to extract the best out of a team. That is one. So respect is a very fundamental thing. And respect also means being empathetic towards people's position and their abilities and their lack of abilities on certain areas, being empathetic towards that, and strongly believing that anybody can acquire abilities, and hence being a leader who can coach, mentor, and support their people to acquire new skills and new abilities. That's another very important aspect of leadership. And not being judgmental, right? Not being judgmental about people who are different from you, but understanding why they are different, and then ensuring that you make the best of what you have. And that is a very important aspect. So I think I've answered both the pluses and minuses. There are 2-3 more things. A good leader typically has a lot of energy. They exude energy. When they talk, you can feel the energy which comes out of them. They're usually optimistic about things. They paint a great picture of a vision for their team, and then they execute well on that vision. They're able to break it down into strategies and specific actions for each strategy, and then micromanage themselves to achieve those strategies while enabling others without micromanaging them. It's a lot of skills which have to come together for becoming a great leader.
Absolutely. In the life science community, a lot of emphasis and structure, rightly so, is given to training people to have scientific excellence, techniques, knowledge, etc. But from your experience of working with the community in various capacities, do you believe that the needed emphasis is given to avenues for developing skills such as you were talking about, the growth mindset or leadership or mentorship? And what more can we do to nurture the entrepreneurial ideas of the life science community?
My interactions with the academic and the scientific community, I think one of the critical things which I have understood and which I have learned from the interactions that I've had is the ability to structure their thinking scientifically and look at root causes and then understand why things happen with data. I think that's an extremely important skill that people in the community already have. What they definitely can pick up, I'm sort of broad brushing it, because obviously there are some people who already have it and who are already acquiring it, some people who are not there yet. Some of the things that they can acquire is an ability to look at whatever they are doing, where does it fit into the larger picture? How does it contribute to overall science? How does it contribute to the society? How does it contribute to making humanity a better place? And then working towards that aspect. That is one aspect. Number two is how can they make a difference in the life of others who are around them, their team members, especially if you're a leader. How do you best encourage your people, coach them, mentor them, ensure that their best is brought out in every interaction? So leadership skills to that extent, I think those are very important. The one thing I've realized is that some of those softer abilities are far more important than your technical abilities as a leader. So reading up a lot on those kind of aspects, watching great videos on those kind of aspects, and actually practicing some of those and implementing it, taking the risk of trying out things which you've not done before. I think that is very important. So unless you really practice it and you see how it works, you will never be convinced that some of those things really work very well. For growth mindset itself, there are certain things that you can do on a daily basis which will enhance your growth mindset. Taking small risks every day, coaching your team members on specific aspects, refraining from judging them. So there are specific things that you can do every day which will help you become better at growth mindset. That's one of the examples. So as a leader, you should keep trying out these things. You should read, you should have a wide perspective, and then try and implement as many of these as possible. That will help you.
You have recently published your third book, Active Parenting. What inspired you to write a book on parenting? And what are some of the messages or learnings from this book that you think are applicable to people at large, beyond the scope of parenting?
So when I look back upon my own life, there have been several inflection points in my life where life took a completely different turn. And it all ended up finally with me calling myself the happiest person I have ever met in my life. And I sort of believe that also. I keep introspecting us on what is it that made me like this. I'm just an ordinary person who managed to actually do some right things at the right times. So every time I thought about it, the only answer that came to me is it is because of the kind of parenting that I had, which helped me with specific traits such as resilience and happiness and authenticity and purposefulness. Thought behind this was to really change the world for a better place. And through my motivational talks, I can do it to a certain extent. But if I really want to change the world, I have to touch millions of children. And to do that, I have to co-opt the parents into creating these attributes in children. So that's how the thought started. And it took me about 4.5 years of research to put this book together. So the book actually contains research on psychology, child psychology, research on positive psychology, interview with a lot of leaders across various fields to figure out what made them leaders and what is the parenting that their parents did to make them, get them those attributes. I interviewed with a lot of parents. So all that work finally culminated in this book. And the book itself I wrote and rewrote so many times. So it becomes very, very useful for a parent who is having children from infants all the way to teenagers.
To look to the future, what are some of your aspirations for the life science community for the next decade? This is a community that's likely to see massive growth during this period.
So I think one of the things that the scientific community can specifically do is adopt certain practices which happen in the corporate space a lot more, which is enabling people more in softer skills. And that happens regularly in corporate life. And if the scientific community can adopt some of that by workshops, by making people talk to each other more, by feedback mechanisms, by way of training, structured training and learning and development, those kind of things will actually help in opening doors for the scientific community, which right now they have themselves closed off quite a bit. The other one is what you had touched upon earlier, is to bring in different perspective into the community by either engaging with or actually bringing in some people from other fields. So you can cross-pollinate a lot of different kind of knowledge into the work that the scientific community is doing and really multiply it humongously by bringing in additional knowledge and really finding uses for the kind of work they're doing, which they didn't maybe think of. So there is a lot of opportunities.
Thank you, RamG, for joining us today at In Conversation with a Mentor. After this chat, I can say that definitely you're one of the most happy and positive people that I have met, but also a very generous leader and a mentor, so willing to share your journey and introspections. So thank you. I'm sure our listeners will find this conversation very insightful and exciting.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this session. And while you guys are dabbling in life sciences, I am dabbling in life sciences. It is a wonderful pleasure to share some of the insights into life, which I have learned with a lot of extremely interesting experiences, to say the least. Thank you for the opportunity, and I hope everybody enjoys what we talked about.
Thank you all for listening to India Bio Speaks in Conversation with a Mentor. We look forward to receiving your comments and feedback at indiabiospeaks@indiabioscience.org. To receive instant updates of our podcast, please follow us on Spotify at India Bioscience. Keep listening, and we will meet you with another In Conversation with a Mentor next month.
If you're passionate about scientific research, communication, outreach, and science education as we are, please connect and engage with us. And here are some ways to do so.
Visit our website at www.indiabioscience.org.
Subscribe to our newsletters
Write for us and join our online discussion forum at discuss.indiabioscience.org.
Advertise jobs, grants, and events in the life sciences on our website.
And feel free to contact us anytime at hello@indiabioscience.org.
Until next time, enjoy your science and stay engaged to enable change.